This dude is Gary Payton II.
Speaking of guys that can play defense, it's a 2-on-1 with GP2.
Oh my goodness, did you see those hops? Here's a better angle in case you missed it.
He knows he's got the quickness advantage. This is the alley-oop pass. Just throw.
Jeez, guys, this is a 6'3" guard who also happens to be the 15th man on the Warriors roster. Talk about deep. I'm so glad that the Golden State Warriors signed GP2 because whether or not it's defensively or offensively, the man fits into the Warriors system like how a glove fits onto a hand. And with that being said, I got a question. Are the 2022 Warriors going 73-9 mode one more time? Well, it might be early in the season, but the indicator lights are blinking like crazy. I mean, first off, what a start to the season. They've already conquered California as they dismantled the Lakers, the Clippers, and the Kings. If you include the preseason, that's 8 wins in a row. It's not just the wins either. I mean, they're winning with swagger. Let me show you what I mean. So you remember that win against the Clippers, right? Remember how the Warriors were up by nearly 20, then Paul George and the Clippers fought back and tied the game up in the fourth? Well, PG-13 was filled to the brim with confidence at that point and said to Curry,
"Make it interesting. We did one. I give you one, you give me one. I'm from the logo with it."
This poor soul has no idea what he just did.
Under 2.
At this point, Steph was probably thinking of,
I'm from the logo with it.
I'm from the logo with it. Green is in a torture chamber, and outside it goes Curry.
and at this point, do you know what Paul George said to himself?
I don't care what anybody says, that's a bad shot.
Ahead it goes to Lee. Back to Steph for the lead.
PG-13, what do you think about it now?
I don't care what anybody says, that's a bad shot.
Anyway, that was partly a joke, but whether or not Paul George thinks it was a good shot or a bad shot, the truth is the Warriors are playing winning basketball, but are they playing 73-9 level basketball? Well, let's take a closer look. Collectively as a whole, so far for 2022, they've got 5 players scoring in double figures compared with just 4 players back in 2016. And when Klay Thompson and James Wiseman come back, that's potentially 7 players on the 2022 squad who can average double figures in scoring. The slogan "Strength in Numbers" is officially back for the Warriors, so in this regard, the Warriors are going to be a really deep team like back in 2016.
Around the Porter screen, gives it back to Porter, one more to Wiggins.
I don't care what anybody says, that's a bad shot.
Next off, can you believe it? Draymond Green is scoring again. The sample size is really small, but the man is averaging double figures in points so far, and is scoring over 50% from both the field and three-point range. Just like back in 2016, Draymond Green is becoming an offensive threat again. I mean, check this out.
He's being aggressive early on again.
The defender here is about a good 10 feet away, which gives Draymond a wide open three, which he takes with no hesitation.
Early on again, he's very selective about his shots.
Dang, guys. Draymond hitting a three? I bet if Paul George was asked what he thought about that shot, he'd say,
I don't care what anybody says, that's a bad shot.
Anyway, guys. It's not just Draymond shooting, too. He's been more aggressive whenever defenders aren't respecting him enough. I mean, check this play out.
So Jordan.
Right here, Maurice Harkless doesn't think much of Draymond's offense and wants to blitz Steph instead, and it all leads to this.
So Jordan Poole and Steph with Wiggins, Looney, and Draymond, and that's a quick way.
In that game, Draymond went for 14 points while shooting 50% from both the floor and three-point range. That is what you call money, guys. So, are the Warriors going 73-9 again? Well, let's take another look. Pick and pop bigs is what I want to discuss next. In 2016, the Warriors had Mo Spates, who contributed a lot coming off the bench. A 6'10 big who excelled in mid-range pick and rolls and who occasionally hit corner threes. But this year, in 2022, the Warriors have a 6'10 big who can pick and pop from three-point territory. Look at Bjelica setting an off-ball screen for Steph, then just rolling to the three-point line for a wide-open tray.
Coming right off the waiver wires, right? Bjelica with a...
Nothing but net. A pretty sweet shot if you ask me, but if you ask this dude, you know what he'll say.
I don't care what anybody says, that's a bad shot.
Anyway, moving on. On top of his threes, Bjelica has such a high basketball IQ and knows how to play Warriors ball. I mean, check out this play. Here's Belly, just standing by the three-point line, just doing his job. Then this happens. His rookie teammate Moody gets in a little bit of trouble, but Bjelica recognizes it immediately and saves what looks like could have been a turnover.
They got in. Moody trying to go in there, finds himself in a double, and he finds
Bjelica, Belly, Big B, whatever you want to call him, he's going to be a huge piece of the 2022 Warriors' success and another reason why the Warriors are returning to the elite form they had back in 2016.
Wiggins. Good shield just to catch that. Bjelica.
Next off, guys, the truth is, even without Clay or Wiseman back in the game yet, this Warriors team is about 10 or 11 deep, which is another staple of that 73-9 squad back in 2016. I mean, the Warriors are already on a roll, but imagine getting the second best shooter in the history of the NBA back in the lineup who's an automatic 20 points per night, along with a modern-day 7-foot prototype center who can run the floor like a guard and pop from three-point range.
For Minnesota, undersized, but it has...
Sheesh. Guys, if James Wiseman is going to be taking and making these types of shots, do you know what Paul George is going to say?
I don't care what anybody says. That's a bad shot.
All jokes aside, if Wiseman is going to be popping threes and averaging about 15 points along with 10 rebounds on top of the greatness of Steph and Clay, then yeah, the 2022 Warriors are going to be historic. And on top of all that, the Warriors are hungry again. I mean, when KD left, when Clay was out for that first year with the ACL injury, and then when Steph broke his hand, this is how Draymond Green said he felt at that time. I wasn't interested in the game, it was just a totally different situation that I was dealing with for the first time in my life, on top of the abruptness of it. You couldn't have told me 3 months before that I would go from the best team ever to the worst team in the NBA. It was frustrating. Green further went on to say, you're walking in these arenas and for years you've been like, we're going to go win. And now you're walking in and there's actually no chance we win this game. Not only do you know you're going to get your ass kicked, but the other teams know they're going to kick your ass and they're not even taking you seriously. Well, it's no longer the case this year. Along with the preseason, the Warriors are on an 8-game win streak currently. The Warriors, including Draymond again, know they can win it all this year, and when you believe, it just makes everything flow smoother. It takes a ton of skill, commitment, and luck to get 73 wins in a single season, but whether or not the Warriors achieve that mark again, I know one thing is for sure. This is a championship caliber team, capable of shooting the lights out from beyond the arc, and more than capable of making this dude say this all season.
I don't care what anybody says. That's a bad shot.
Oh, and by the way, with all the new faces around in the Warriors locker room these days, have you ever wondered what their thoughts are of Steph Curry? Yeah, they were all amazed, of course, but what else do they think about the greatest shooter who ever lived? Well, if you want to know, then just click this video right here, where I go over what every Warrior thinks of the 2-time MVP. It's a crazy video, guys. I don't want to spoil it for you. Just click it, watch it, enjoy it, and as always, I'll see you on the other side.